Okay, reaction video time. This is a video that I have not seen. This is in Soccer We Trust podcast. There's Jimmy Conrad, Charlie Davies, and Heath Pierce. I guess I'm the fourth wheel in this. And I'm just going to react to what they say. Is Christian Pulisic being treated unfairly at Chelsea? I haven't seen this. I don't know what they're going to say, but I'll add my 2 cents. Here we go.
My stock down, though, is Christian Pulisic. It's not getting any better for him. And it's a nice segue into what his dad said on Twitter. But he played 22 minutes as a sub.
Yeah, I know Mark Pulisic made a tweet, which was taken down, which indicated that Christian was not happy at Chelsea. I don't know. We'll see how this all pans out.
Against Everton. And then midweek, he played 20 minutes again as a sub against Manchester United. They lost at Everton, and they had a 1-1 draw against United. And
he also came on as a sub earlier against West Ham and scored the goal in the 90th minute in a game that really Chelsea should not have won. The game should have ended 0-0.
I don't know what's happening with him. I don't think his stock is down. He's still our number one guy, but I think his situation makes...
Yeah, that's what he said. The sad thing is he loves his club, teammates in London, puts his heart and soul into being a pro. Onwards and upwards, my boy. Big 6 months ahead, which obviously indicates for the World Cup.
Makes me feel a little bit down about what's happening. Here's what his dad said on Twitter. The sad thing is he loves this club, teammates in London, puts his heart and soul into being a pro. Onwards and upwards, my boy. Big 6 months ahead. That seems pretty cryptic. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah.
I mean, that, for me, signals that Christian is probably out at Chelsea in some capacity. I mean, you don't write something like that. No, the sad thing is that he loves his club and teammates in London. I don't know what else you can take from that other than he's leaving.
That's how I look at it. It's like his father's basically saying that Christian's not happy. And I think I think Christian has a right to complain about this, about what's going on at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel, in my opinion, is a decent manager, but he's not a great manager. It appears like he's ready to give Timo Werner all the chances in the world, but is not really ready to give Christian Pulisic the same deal. Just my opinion. I could be wrong on that. It's his decision to make too. Thomas Tuchel can do whatever he wants.
I mean, let's be realistic here. I think initially when Christian went to Chelsea, it was more of a marketing play. Ultimately,
or felt that way.
It really felt that way. It was packaged to be that way. Oh, look at all the depth they have. He's not going to come into play. But he showed the character and the quality that he has.
Scored an amazing goal against Manchester City, scored in the FA Cup final against Arsenal, and had a hat-trick against Burnley, where he scored with his right foot, left foot, and header.
That it's undeniable. When he is given time to play and he's fit, he's a menace. He can unlock defenses. He's that gifted. And we've seen it against the best. Liverpool, I remember watching that game, was it a couple of years ago? I said, oh, my God, how was he not the star for Chelsea? And it seems like he's the scapegoat. Anytime there's –
That is true. Whenever he has what's perceived as a poor game, he goes right to the bench, and other players are given, at least from my point of view, looking at it, are given second, third, or fourth chances. It doesn't look like it applies to him. And I don't think Thomas Tuchel has anything against Christian Pulisic. I don't think this is a attack on him. I just don't think it's the same rule applies to him as it does to everybody else.
An issue, he's the first one off. He's the first one subbed off, or he has to come out of the starting 11 if they're going to rotate. So for me, go to a place where he's going to get appreciated and he's going to play every match. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think we're going to see him reach his potential, because that's when he's happy, when he's on the pitch, not when he has to. It feels like of all the players and the attacking players.
And yeah, injuries have played a part in this too.
In the Chelsea
Can't
team,
forget that.
He's the one that has to repeatedly prove himself. And it's not only. And so you get tired of it. I don't care how good you are. And it's great that you have to prove yourself every day in training and every match, but you get tired of it. There's a certain level that you reach and you say, you know what, I've done it. Every time you've asked of me to show out and prove myself, I've done it. And I'm tired. I'm tired of it, because you're not asking everyone else to do the same thing. So I think his dad is putting that tweet out, hey, my son's.
Again, there is something to be said for that. There is one rule for Pulisic and a rule for everybody else. And it's not, again, I can't stress this enough. It's Thomas Tuchel's decision. He's the manager. It's his head that's on the chopping block, not anybody else's. But, from an outside looking in, I know people had the same complaints when he had Frank Lampard as a manager, but when he had Frank Lampard as a manager, I agree with a lot of what Frank Lampard did. I don't think Lampard had anything against Christian Pulisic, but Frank Lampard was not on the level, the same as a manager of a top club, and it ultimately cost him his job.
Staying strong, he's in it, but he's ready for a new challenge. The last league start he's had is March 5th. It was a goal and an assist away at Burnley, which is not an easy place to play. He needs to get that move. I mean, we always talk about which move is.
Well, I mean, is this an emotional dad here though? Heath Pierce, standing on the sideline, going, "This coach doesn't know what he's talking about. My son's better than that." I mean, we've seen some evidence of that, because I remember I took a shot at Julian Green back when he got named to the 2014 World Cup team, and I got hit hard by Julian Green's dad in the replies. And, and I get it. I understand. My dad would do the same thing. You're there to protect your kids. I get it. I'm a dad myself.
Is he his agent? Is he his agent also?
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is.
No, I don't think so either.
No. I think maybe at one point he was.
For sure, marketing, he's with William Morris Endeavor.
Okay.
Look, Mark Pulisic knows how this works. He was a coach for Borussia Dortmund when Christian was there.
I mean, look, I think it's definitely dad kind of jumping in trying to punch out in a way that his agent or he himself won't do. Trying to make a little bit of that statement. But the thing is now he's brought it to life. Now it's a living, breathing thing that we're all talking about. And I disagree a little bit with what Charlie said in the sense of, like, I think there has been times Pulisic gets injured a lot. He does have a lot of performances where when he is a starter consistently, he has performances where he's pretty indifferent in his performances. And then when he's got the chip on his shoulder, he tends to fight back and bounce back. Same with the national team, right? Where we saw him in the national team. There's a lot of games where you're like, then you see the games where you're like, this guy's unbelievable world.
I can't say I completely agree with that. I know there have been matches where I've seen Christian be somewhat indifferent, but again, it goes back to, the last 3 games that I've seen Timo Werner play, for example, he has been completely useless. He just hasn't been very good at all, but he constantly gets the start. Timo Werner was useless last year, and I believe he got the start in the Champions League final. Made no sense.
Class, and we kind of forget some of that inconsistency. At least that's how I feel. But I do think I agree with Charlie on the fact that when he is asked to prove himself and say, hey, fight for your place back, he generally does that and does well. And proves himself in that way. But I think as a consistent starter, I think Chelsea has struggled with this for 18 months to 2 years of just.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel has not really settled on his first 11. He just hasn't. And you've got 100 million Romelu Lukaku sitting on the bench doing absolutely nothing but twiddling his thumbs when he probably should have played against Everton. At some point in time, you've got to roll the dice a little bit on that situation. It looks like Mason Mount has established himself. I wasn't a big fan of Mason Mount last year, but this year he's gotten a little bit better. Actually, a lot bit better. I think he's a solid player. But if it were me, I'd put Romelu Lukaku back in the starting lineup. Ziyech has gone cold, and put Pulisic and Mount right behind him. That's how because Pulisic will take on players. Even if he's having a bad game, he'll take on people. But you don't see him getting the opportunity. Certainly not like the other players are.
Finding that consistently, because they went out and got everybody who's the same age other than Lukaku in their front 6 or 7. And so, yeah, it's a little bit. I don't know why his dad did that. At a certain point, he's got to probably just take a step.
His dad's frustrated. That's why he did that.
Back, from the helicoptering, because he is Christian Pulisic now. He's our best American player. He's a Champions League winner at Chelsea, and he's a massive star. That love Mark Pulisic, but just seemed odd.
Also, we should mention that he deleted the tweet, so it no longer exists if you're going to look for it right now. But
it may have been deleted, but we still know it exists. You had it on your page, showed it in the video prior, so we all know it exists, and it was in the British papers as well.
Do you think that was him? Do you think that was Christian being like,
Well, you know
Yeah,
it's serious.
like-
If someone deletes a tweet, you know that it's serious. They got something coming at them, and they said,
Yeah, I got to think Christian probably said, "Hey, Dad, you might want to rethink that tweet you just put out there.
"Oh, not a."
It's taken on a life as its own."
It's probably,
good idea.
remember when Christian wore a hat and U.S. Soccer posted it on Instagram, and he's like, "Why do you guys ask me if you can post that?" It's probably the same thing as like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, can you just don't make this worse for me or any harder than it needs to be?" And I find it interesting, Chelsea's situation overall, because the consortium that's being the preferred bidder in all this is an American owner, and I doubt that he's going to want to let Christian Pulisic go, because it's not from an American owner who just sees it from a business standpoint. He's an incredible asset to have.
This goes back to the Glazers and Kroenke owning Arsenal and the Glazers owning Manchester United. They're in it for the money. They're making an investment to make money, and that's kind of stands in the way of how the English look at their football clubs. Okay, they want trophies. They want the status of being the best in the Premier League and getting trophies and silverware. And Christian Pulisic, they're not going to want the golden boy of American football or American soccer to go away after they bought the club.
One of the biggest names in
You're more likely to lose Thomas Tuchel than to get to lose Christian Pulisic in that situation if that's what they want.
American soccer on his team. It's not just going to let him go. So I actually don't know if he's going to leave, and I'm very curious to see how Thomas Tuchel, if he remains as coach, continues to stick with him and how that all plays out. A lot of questions there, but we're not the only ones discussing this. We also had the opportunity to hear from Fabrizio Romano when he was on the Que Golazo podcast with our very own Luis Miguel Echegaray. Let's see what Fab had to say.
Was mentioned Romelu Lukaku, but they need to clarify with Pulisic what they want to do together with Thomas Tuchel at the end of the season. They had some approaches from Spanish clubs in January, but for Chelsea was not even a topic. They wanted to keep him, and Tuchel wanted to keep him. So he told to the board, "I want this player to stay, and I need this player." But then these players, Pulisic, Lukaku, and many others, they're not happy with the current situation. So it's really important, I think, for Chelsea to clarify what they want to do with them, with contracts, because even for Pulisic, what do you want to do? You trust this player. You want to offer him a new deal or not? So there are many points, and they want to play. They want to play, and so it's a complicated situation too. I'm sure that they will have a conversation with Thomas Tuchel, with the new board in the summer, and they will need to clarify what they want to do, because maybe it could be an opportunity for him to leave Chelsea in case Thomas Tuchel will accept him to go. So Tuchel with Romelu Lukaku and Pulisic will need to clarify the situation as soon as possible. I think it will be end of May.
Interesting.
That's an interesting statement there, because I can't imagine Christian Pulisic is happy with the situation with not getting enough playing time. 20 minutes cameos off the bench is not what he signed up for. And now, obviously, this is everybody's from Missouri. You got to show me what you can do. And you would have thought, after scoring the goal against West Ham, the way he got that goal and got the 3 points, that he would have been getting a little bit more playing time, or at least started against Manchester United at the very least. But that didn't happen. Now, there wasn't a whole lot he could do against Everton. I thought Everton played reasonably well and defended incredibly well, and Jordan Pickford made some outstanding saves. But and the other thing you got to ask is, if Christian Pulisic does leave, where's he going to go? Who wants him? Which clubs are going to take him?
Interesting insight there from our very own Fabrizio Romano. Charlie, you hear from Fab there. Seems like he's just as, or kind of saying some of the same things, just a little frustrated. They got to get some clarification. Part of me thinks that Thomas Tuchel just sees him as a super sub, like that. That's what he thinks his best role is, a spot starter at best. If Tuchel stays, and then the ownership group, if Tuchel stays, I can understand why Pulisic wants to leave. But if the ownership group comes in and they're like, we're not selling our best.
Pulisic doesn't want to be a super sub. He has no interest in being the American Gareth Bale.
American asset who's a marketing machine for us over here. Now you've got an issue, because now you're going to have an unhappy Christian Pulisic, and I think from a sporting perspective, that's the last thing we want heading into the World Cup.
Both final groups, by the way, Charlie, are American. I think they entered into talk the Dodgers, but I think it was like Blitzer Harris and
Pagliuca from Boston. Let's go. I think for me, and it was also telling that it was Spanish clubs that came in for Christian. That's the best league for Christian. If you're leaving
I heard there was talk that Barcelona wanted to take him on loan last year. I'd be interested to see which Spanish club, if it is Spanish clubs that want to get him, will take him. I mean, where would he fit in, and which Spanish club would Christian Pulisic be good at? It would be very interesting to see.
Even Chelsea, Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, those are the two clubs that you want to see him go to.
Atletico with Diego Simeone and Villarreal with Unai Emery.
I think in terms of that, you're going, okay, if that's not on the table, where in the Premier League would you want him to go? You know, is a Tottenham a place that you could see him? Wolves, I think, would be too below, Christian right now.
It was suggested last night on ESPN that West Ham would be an interesting. Would play with David Moyes. Tottenham, okay. Would he want to go to Tottenham?
So it'd have to be a club that's competing in Europe, because you don't go from Chelsea and say, yeah, I'd love to go play for Everton or for Leeds. You know, you have to stay at that level, because
yeah, he's not going to Everton. He's not going to Leeds.
Once you touch that level, you never want to leave it. So I think for Christian, it's you reassess at the end of the season, because maybe Thomas isn't there. Thomas Tuchel, maybe
he might not be there.
Leaves. You know, you never know. So I think from that standpoint, you wait till you see how the season ends, because maybe it ends on a high note. Otherwise, you say, I need to go to a place where I'm going to feel happy. And right now, I'm not.
There's been so many stop-starts at Chelsea. I don't really see him wanting to stay there. If he does, great. I wish him all the luck in the world. Maybe Thomas Tuchel will leave Chelsea and they'll bring somebody else in. You know, maybe the American ownership will say, hey, you need to give Christian a better deal. I don't know. I don't know if it's their place to do something like that, but
not happy.
All right, everybody listening and or watching, let us know, where do you think Christian Pulisic should play, if not at Chelsea, for the next season? Hit us up at ISWT Pod on the Twitters. You can do it in the comments right now or whenever you hear this, if you're listening to it on podcast. And while you're there, why don't you hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, hit like and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTubes. We really appreciate all your support as we build this tremendous community, especially as we head into a very important World Cup for the U.S. men's national team. Keith, we've already had plenty of discussions where we think Christian should go, but it's one of those things where you play for a top club, even your best players are spot starters at times. And that might be a reality that he has to accept, because that's what's happening at Chelsea. And maybe he's not getting the minutes that he needs, but if he drops down, maybe just that one tier. Let's say he went from Chelsea to West Ham, and all of a
so I suggested earlier.
sudden he's on the opposite side of Jared Bowen, right? And they got
One more point ESPN suggested earlier. That's what they said. Chris West Ham with David Moyes.
Mikel Antonio up top, and now Declan Rice and Souček are in midfield. And sure, he might have to replace Ben.
That's assuming Declan Rice is still there.
Drama or whatever, but we think he could do that. Would he accept that? I mean, it took Kurt Zuma a long time to leave Chelsea to go to West Ham to kind of see it the same way, where hey, buddy, you're going to be a spot starter, but if you come to West Ham, you'll probably start all the time.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham's an interesting one because
I just throw that as an example, by the way.
It is an example. It's a great example. I feel like he tends to play better with quality players around him. I think
so would I.
You can agree. I mean, for sure. But he tends to.
Even I would play better with better players around me. Not that I have anything to write home about, mind you.
Try to put a lot more on his shoulders when he comes to the national team and
True.
feels like he's got to be the guy. But when he's got good quality around him, I think that's why I like.
Are you
Charlie
saying? Wait,
for Spurs.
Chuck, did you hear that right? Is he saying the U.S. men's national team doesn't have quality? Does Heath Pierce hate the U.S. men's national team right now?
Yeah, he does.
Hey, boo, you guys!
Stop hating the U.S. men's national team.
I'm gonna delete this tweet.
Delete your tweet.
Yeah, I mean,
I get what you're
think
saying.
he feels that responsibility. Whereas I think maybe at West Ham again would feel like he's got to be a double-digit goal and assists for both.
But he also has to perform as well. That's the one thing that we know his quality. We know what he's able to do. We know the things. We can talk about whether he's being treated fairly or not. Okay, we can talk about whether Thomas Tuchel is treating him fairly or not. We can talk about whether he belongs at Chelsea or not. But if he goes to another club, or he's a first person on the team sheet, he has to produce. Okay, we know he's capable of doing it. We've seen him do it before, but he has to produce.
A year where maybe he could be anyway if he was a role player. By the way, at Chelsea, I don't think that he's a sub at Chelsea. I think that Tuchel just knows he's got the luxury of having a number of players that he can have run 6 to 8 games straight, and then maybe you're out for 6 to 8 games, and 6 to 8 games straight, maybe you're out. And I think that in itself maybe makes everybody in the rotation of things, as opposed to the fact that we're talking about it towards the end of the season and he's not starting, middle of the year when he was starting, or if that middle of the year was at the end of the year, I would still see it as the same, where I think Thomas Tuchel sees the value in him for long stretches and then rotate.
Yeah, I think Tuchel likes Christian, but he does. I don't think he sees him as a starter. I mean, like he said, if that was going on, if you start 6 games and then replace something like that was going on, then that's one thing. We could look at that and probably wouldn't be having these conversations. But I don't think I think Tuchel sees him as a sub and an occasional starter. Again, it's Tuchel's decision to make. I don't think Tuchel hates Christian. I don't think Tuchel has anything against Christian, but I think, but I do think Christian hasn't really been treated fairly. But that's Thomas Tuchel's decision to make, like I said earlier.
Him, and then he finds himself buried for a while, which is not ideal. But I like Charlie Shout for a Spurs, or some of these Spanish clubs could be good too. I think we all see him needing to be at a certain level. But still around like that Champions League tier and quality player where he's creating around other borderline world-class players.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was in Soccer We Trust, U.S. Soccer We Trust podcast with Jimmy Conrad, Charlie Davies, and Heath Pierce. Give them a like and subscribe. Their link will be in the description below, and please give me a like and subscribe. This was fun. I enjoyed this one. But is Christian Pulisic being treated unfairly? Well, we'll figure that out on our own, see what the future holds for the young man. Thank you.